Good afternoon, everybody. I'm absolutely honored and elated to be accepted into the community of APA Division 17 Fellows. I'm honored to be accepted into a group that includes former professors and individuals whose work I have admired for a long time. Thank you, Gargi, for serving as chair of the 2012 Fellows Address. I would especially like to thank the three accomplished scholars who endorsed my nomination, Drs. Helen Neville, Carol Enns, and Azara Santiago Rivera. All three women embody the professionalism and personal connection that I strive to emulate. They embody a style of leadership that is characterized by a combination of egalitarian mentorship, open-heartedness, and excellence and dedication to the field where they research and advocate for justice. This honor represents an acknowledgement of many years of hard work and of the sacrifices of those committed to my success. They include family, friends, colleagues at Georgia State, former professors, students, and individuals outside of our profession that I do not know personally, but who have inspired me. They include critical thinkers who validated my experiences and enabled me to see parallels between my experiences and those of others, as well as differences. I dedicate this honor to my parents, Joseph and Helen Ancis of blessed memory, to my young daughter, Sylvie, who is smart, spirited, and wise beyond her years, and to the memory of my grandparents, Sylvia, Saul, Abraham, and Golda. As Jews, my grandparents escaped persecution and genocide in their native countries, with the hope that is typical of immigrants and refugees, that their descendants would have a better life. Their hopes were met. I'm grateful for my education that gave me the footing to pursue advanced degrees and attain many achievements and my parents' related sacrifice. I'm grateful that I'm the child of two wild parents and grew up in a home and the city known as New York that exposed me to diversity in all of its forms in music, art, food, dance, diverse nonverbal and verbal expressions and alternative perspectives, and allowed me to travel outside the United States. Although living in the South for such a long time, in Virginia and Georgia since 1997, after being and raised in New York City, has been a true cross-cultural learning experience. I think that my cultural, historical, and familial backgrounds, along with other factors, influence my tendency and ability to question rigid ways of doing things and to engage in critical analysis and not just accept the status quo. It also encouraged a distaste of inequity and cruelty in all its forms, human to human, human to animal, and human to environment. I consider some of my greatest accomplishments those in which I witnessed systemic changes and knew that my efforts and those of others contributed to those changes. Such experiences have been truly empowering and helped me to speak with conviction to those who think that their efforts are for naught or have just given up. It helps me to say to others that your work can make a difference, that you can make a change in the world. The choice is up to you. At the same time, I cannot in good conscience understate the great effort that change requires, particularly when such change is inconsistent with the status quo, and that oftentimes the real obstacles one faces are physically, emotionally, and spiritually draining. This work requires courage, strength, and patience. But for me, there is no choice. My father used to tell me in times of difficulty to be true to myself. Part of being true to myself has meant speaking to what is in my heart and conscience, thus the unsilencing referenced in the title of my talk. Rav Kook, one of the most celebrated and influential rabbis of the 20th century, said, "There are free men with the spirit of a slave, and slaves whose spirit is full of freedom. He who is true to his inner self is a free man, while he whose entire life is merely a stage for what is good and beautiful in the eyes of others is a slave." This speaks to me. As I and many in the audience face or have faced questions associated with midlife, such as, do I make a difference? What does my work mean? What does it all mean? As my dad frequently asked in a rhetorical fashion. I didn't get it when he used to say it and ask it all the time. I get it now, Dad. I now know more than ever that those who struggle with injustice need advocates and allies. For the past couple of years, I've been researching women's experiences in the legal system with a focus on the process and outcome of family court. Psychologists can play a major role in terms of educating those who work in the legal arena and being advocates. We, as mental health professionals, also need to be more humble about what we do not know. Many harmful practices are implemented in the name of psychology. In my research on family court, this includes the application of diagnoses which have no empirical basis, diagnoses which have a tremendous influence on the lives of others in a multitude of ways, using psychological instruments which do not have relevant criterion validity, and interventions such as the development of centers and camps ostensibly aimed at creating family bonds, but that literally force children to interact, quote unquote, reunite with their abusive parents, thereby re-traumatizing them. Psychologists have been involved in the legal system for a long time as evaluators, counselors, and expert witnesses. Unfortunately, in many jurisdictions, this work is driven by the interrelated factors of dual relationships, financial incentives, and bias. My hope is that our work in the legal system follows the principles that underlie the scientist-practitioner model, that it is based on sound research, is ethical, and strive to actually help people versus further traumatize them. There were several Division 17 section on the advancement of women sponsored events at this year's conference, including both a symposium and a roundtable on girls and women in the justice system. And this section is pursuing interdivisional collaborations. I will serve as chair of the section on the advancement of women starting this year. This section has meant a great deal to me personally and professionally, and has helped me to continue to chip away at my own internalized mythology about women. I have learned, as reiterated in APA's Leadership Institute for Women in Psychology that I just attended several days before the start of the conference, that leadership is learnable. We all know that there are often consequences to intervening in ways that challenge systems, but the consequences of not intervening are much graver. And the joy and positivity engendered when environments are more compassionate and equitable is unparalleled. I thank you so much again for this wonderful honor.